What's up YouTube? Capital G here, looking at some new cards from Shining Victories. We've got a new Wyrm monster, and then we've got a new anti-meta monk. Now, anytime a new Wyrm monster comes out, I feel like we have to kind of take notice because Wyrm support has been few and far between, and I believe that the only real structured archetype for Wyrms is Yang Zing's. And this happens when Konami releases a new type into the game. If you remember back in Duelist Genesis, they gave us Psychic, and they got a lot of support in that set, and then it got a little bit of support in Crossroads of Chaos, and then they kind of just forgot about it, and it really hasn't been. I mean, you still look at Emergency Teleport as like the greatest Psychic support card ever, and it's like that card is like what, 6-7 years old, you know what I mean? They still haven't really topped that since. So it just kind of shows you that, some of these new types will get the shaft. They're not going to be anywhere near dragons, spellcasters, or warriors. So anyways, let's talk about the new anti-meta monk first. It's called Gendo the Master Monk. Here's what the guy looks like. When I saw the card art, I'm like, okay, it looks pretty cool. Reminds me a lot of Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. You got the whole mass thing. It's water. It is level 4. It's 300 attack, spellcaster, 1800 defense. So it can power up your Abyss Dweller if you happen to, Exceed Summon it with that. For the most part, being water isn't it's not super great in Yu-Gi-Oh, but it is kind of good for that. All right, this guy has 2 effects. First effect, face-up attack position monsters on the field cannot activate effects. Effect number 2, this defense position card cannot be targeted by effects or destroyed by effects. So to me, this card is very powerful. I don't think that this is going to be a card like Kaiku or Thunder King Ryo that you can splash into a deck and see an immediate impact, because obviously the stats are not conducive to that. 300 attack and 300 attack, and you probably are going to want to normal summon this as opposed to set it and put it at risk for your opponent to attack with a bigger monster, or for it to get spun by something like I don't know, maybe Ignister or Prominent, something like that. But yeah, 300 attack means that you're going to have to run supplementary cards, and I think that you're probably going to have to make a deck around this. And I think that this card can fit well into its own anti-meta-ish deck. I think we're starting to get to the point in Yu-Gi-Oh where, since Pendulum is obviously the dominant mechanic in the game, I think you're just going to see decks like main deck Pendulum Hate, and you're already seeing it with people main decking anti-spell fragrance decks like Burning Abyss or Tellarknights, even Cosmos. You're starting to see them play things like this, or things like artifacts and whatnot. So it's just I thought about it. I was like, well, why couldn't you just bring back old anti-meta-ish stun? And people might say, oh, Cap, that doesn't work anymore. Are you so sure about that? Because every so often, maybe every couple of weeks, you'll see a Japanese, one of them top in the OCG. Granted, it's a different format, but to be honest, I think the TCG is actually better. It's actually better served to try it in the TCG, where you don't have Harpy's Feather Duster and stuff like that running around to kind of just wreck your day. I mean, think about it. If you ran the 3 major floodgates to try and wreck pendulums, lose 1 turn, anti-spell fragrance are the 2, in my opinion, you can just splash into a lot of decks. If you're not relying on the Exceed Summon, you can easily put these in. Then you've got Vanities, which is obviously a good pendulum stopping mechanic. If you ran just a whole bunch of good anti-meta monsters like Thunder King Ryo and Fossil Dynas, and your copies of Gendo, you could look and say, well, Fossil Dyna isn't that powerful, Gendo isn't that powerful, but if you put something on it like Moon Mirror Shield, then it all of a sudden becomes a lot more difficult for your opponent to kill. I mean, these pendulum decks do not play battle traps. They don't play pretty much any traps at all. So if I've got a Fossil Dyna or a Gendo with a Moon Mirror Shield, you're gonna struggle to get around that shit. Now, granted, people can say, oh, Cap, well, why can't you just use something like Castel, summon it in defense mode? I get that, that could, but that's assuming that I don't have any type of back row, or I don't have a lose 1 turn. Because if I get a lose 1 turn, a Gendo, and a Moon Mirror Shield, regular Pepe, what are you really going to do to that? You're going to be in some deep doo-doo. You're going to definitely be kind of you're going to seriously be hurting. I'm trying to think of some outs, and I just really don't think that you have any. Or you could just put it in defense mode after you get the Moon Mirror Shield, and actually I think it'd be more effective to just keep attacking. But I could see this maybe in an anti-meta-ish stun type deck, because again, monsters in attack mode can't even try to activate their effects. It's better than something like Skill Drain, where the effects are negated. You can't even attempt to activate their effects. So anything that you summon like normal summon to get over this, like a Scroll Acrobat Joker or, you know, Pendulum Wizard, like they can't even attempt to use their effects. So I don't know. I think the card is good, especially if you combine it with like Moon Mirror Shield. The card is like excellent because then you kind of have to go into like Castel to get over it. But if I get Moon Mirror Shield and put it in defense mode, okay, now Ignister and like Trishula are pretty much like your only outs because you can't target it and you can't run it over. So have fun with that shit. Next up is Ryu Okami. And as soon as I saw the artwork of this card, I was like, wow, it's a giant, like it pretty much had to be some sort of wolf because, well, I don't know. The game, I got the game Okami and Amaterasu, she's a wolf. Well, she's a goddess who I guess takes like the shape of a wolf. So I don't know, maybe in the, what's it called? In Japan, I think like Amaterasu has something to do with like Okami and whatnot, but I think it's all centered around like a wolf or something. I could totally be wrong. The artwork on this card looks really nice. To be honest, it kind of looks like it could be a Shiranai card, like a little bit. It is, it's light, 2900 attack, 1200 defense, level 8. I'm thinking Beast Warrior, probably. It's, oh, excuse me, duh, it's a Wyrm. I'm like, it says right there, what the hell am I even doing? It's a Wyrm, obviously. That picture does not look like a worm, so that doesn't even make sense for it to be a worm and have this type of artwork. The artwork's awesome, but I just don't think it should be a worm with that type of artwork. Effect number 1, if your opponent special summons a monster, your opponent sends 1 card from their extra deck to the graveyard. I look at this card and I'm just like, I guess it's just supposed to be filler for the set. I mean, I know they got to get to like a certain amount of cards, but I just don't understand how that's ever going to be good. I mean, yeah, maybe against like an Exceed deck or something like that, like Burning Abyss, you end up getting some of their cards out of their extra deck. It kind of like limits their resources. But against Pendulum decks, like, have we forgotten that they can? It doesn't say that they can't send face-up monsters from their extra deck. It just says from the extra deck to the graveyard. So I mean, your opponent could just send like Pendulum cards and a deck like you know, Pendulum Magicians with things like Oath Dragon Magician. They can get those cards right back to their hand by summoning Oath Dragon Magician, or Noble can like summon itself. So I don't know, man. And also this card doesn't really stop your opponent from like wombo comboing all over your face. Like, yeah, they may lose like even 4 or 5 like extra deck monsters, but if they just kill this card or they kill you, does it really matter? You know what I mean? Unless the game goes extremely long and you get like some of those monsters that they desperately need, I just don't think this card's going to have much of an impact. I mean, the stats are great, and I guess it's like another card that you can use it with, like you can use it with Draco Ascension, which is kind of cool, I guess. But like, I kind of just looked up Wyrm cards, and there's just not that many. I mean, and Oasis of the Dragon Souls, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's not that many Wyrm cards in the game for you to kind of play a Wyrm just because it's a Wyrm. Unless you're running Yang Zings, there really isn't a reason to run Wyrms in this game. Or like if you're summoning like Yazzie and, you know, like a deck that plays 7s like Speedroids or something like that. But outside of that, I don't really think that you run Wyrms just to be running them, because they don't really have the support to like actually to warrant that. So you guys let me know what you think. I think this card could have very good potential in a deck built around it or built around anti-meta-ish. I think you should just stay far away from this card. Other than the cool artwork, there's really no reason. So thank you guys for watching as always.